Hi, my name is Nelson Liu and I am the creator of Titanic Wrecked. The goal of this project is to be able to give people a deep-sea diving experience from the safety and comfort of their own homes. My inspiration for this project came from recent events of a submarine imploding while exploring the Titanic. I was especially shocked when I heard the cost of the trip. I thought to myself, there has to be a safer way to explore the Titanic. Therefore, Titanic Wrecked was born, an immersive deep-sea exploration of the Titanic from the safety and comfort of your own home. Players control a submarine and have to dive to find the shipwreck. After they have reached the Titanic shipwreck, they are able to maneuver around the entire shipwreck. So I am going to start diving right away because it does take a while to dive. I'll talk more on that later. So first the controls, basic WASD to move around on the X-axis, mouse to look around, and left control to dive down and space to dive up. Next, you can see a slider on the left side of the screen. This is technically a depth meter, but it also serves as a distance meter, showing you how far away you are from the shipwreck, both horizontally and vertically. You can see these bubbles floating around the sub and in the light beams. Speaking of light beams, these are volumetric light beams, simulating the searchlight cone of light. However, these don't emit light themselves, so I have another point light centered at the bottom front of the submarine to fake this lighting. You technically can't see the bottom of the submarine, so this could technically be another light source. There is also a sound effect looping in the background of the water sounds. Finally, at the bottom here, we have the Titanic shipwreck. We are able to go around this entire thing to explore the different sections of the wreck. Our light is able to illuminate the wreck and interact with it. Some of the shipwreck's material shiny, so like up here reflects the light, and on the bottom the hull here is more dull. There is a box collider around the two different sections, so the submarine doesn't go clipping through any walls. There is two box colliders between these two, so like you can go through this middle section here. There is also seaweed at the bottom of the sea floor here that is animated. This goes all around the entire shipwreck. And it makes it look like there is a current flowing. So I'm just gonna keep going around the rest of the shipwreck so you can see the entire thing. While I'm going around, I'll talk about meeting my project goals. I think my project met my original goals, my original project descriptions and goals extremely well. I wanted to give users an immersive deep-sea diving experience, exploring the Titanic from the safety and comfort of their own homes, and I think I accomplished that really well. However, I do think I could do more and add more if I had more time. More on that later. But coming to this with very little game design experience, I was not confident on if I was going to be able to make this game, but I think I managed to pull it off. So challenges. One of the biggest biggest struggles I had was trying to find the right lighting for the scene. Nothing I did was working how I wanted it to or how I envisioned it to look. Most of the tutorials I watched made use of the volumetric light beam asset, which cost $50. However, I was able to find a version of the asset that was for free for educational use, and it was a godsend. It made it so much easier to follow along tutorials and recreate what I was envisioning in my mind. Another challenge I was facing was the user interface. I wanted to add a depth meter and map so players can tell how far down they are as they dive and how far away they are from the shipwreck if they get lost. I know where the two models are in relation to each other, but the first time I actually played an early version of this game, I got lost and turned around at the beginning because I turned the submarine, so then I lost my original heading, which from the start, that's a Titan, and that's the Titanic. So when you start the game, it is directly ahead, so all you have to do is dive down and move forward. However, the map was proving kind of difficult and I was spending way too much time on it. So in the end, I just combined the two. It is now just a slider of how far away from the shipwreck, including both depth and horizontal distance. So the next challenge kind of ties in with the previous one. I want players to have that diving experience, but it currently takes way too long to dive with nothing else on screen. It was part of the reason why I wanted a depth meter. Without it, it would have just seemed like you weren't making any progress. I could move the submarine closer to the shipwreck, but then I didn't want players to be able to see the shipwreck at the start of the game. I could also increase the speed, but once you get closer to the shipwreck, it then moves way too fast for to be able to accurately maneuver the submarine. I think I already have the speed, yeah, vertical speed 4. I also wanted to add fish and other marine life to make the dive more interesting and for you to like explore while you're diving down. And I really think that would have mitigated this problem a lot, but I spent a lot of time on other things and eventually ran out of time. Finally, I struggled with wanting first person versus third person perspectives. The first person perspective would have been a lot more immersive, especially for VR, but it proved too big of a challenge. First, I would have needed a model with a finished interior, and I couldn't find one. UI also would have been challenging because I feel like if I had a first person perspective, the UI should be incorporated into the submarine's instrument panel, and I don't know if I would have even had the capabilities to do that if I had the time. So eventually, I decided to go with third person view, which didn't end up too bad because the player could still examine the exterior of the submarine, which this is a really good model. I think this game has huge potential if I had more time and resources to make the game how I had envisioned it. To start, I would add more details to the environment. Having, like I said earlier, having marine life will make the diving experience better. Also, having a detailed seabed with stuff like corals and algae would have made it more immersive. I also wish I had a better model of Titanic. It was hard finding a model that I wanted online. Detailed models weren't colored, or they weren't available to download, or they weren't free. I mean, what I found eventually and what I'm currently using is a great model, but it's not the most detailed or realistic. Having details like algae growth and more textures on the inside of the ship would have enhanced the current model. Next, I also really want that map on the UI so I can have a separate depth meter. I think what I have works really great, but I think having a separate map and depth meter would have been a lot better. You would be able to tell your distance to the wreck separate from your depth. Currently, if you were going to the wrong direction but still diving down, the slider would either stay still or still show that you were moving closer to the wreck. I'm kind of running out of time here, but let's say, so the wreck is currently that direction. If I face this direction and then go dive down, see on the left side, the meter is still going down even though you are moving away from the wreck. I also want to optimize controls for this game. Right now, the left and right only rotates the submarine, so if you want to look at the section 5 feet to the right, you would first need to rotate right, move forward, then rotate back left. While this movement is more accurate representation of a real world sub, it just feels weird in a video game. I think it would be a lot better if the left and right movement keys move the sub left and right instead of rotating it. However, this gets tricky because I still need a way to be able to rotate the submarine without mapping it to the mouse, because I want the mouse to be able to have a free 360 view of the submarine, especially if I want to continue with the third-person viewpoint. Finally, I want a first-person view from the cockpit, especially if I were to integrate this in VR. Having a third-person view in VR is kind of disorienting. A first-person view would make this whole experience more immersive, especially with what I was saying earlier about having the UI like depth meter map or radar integrated into the submarine's instrument panel. And finally, my credits. Thank you.